Oh hey, it's Emily, and I thought a chill video on my couch with a change of scenery would be nice, and so I decided to film this one while I'm chilling on my couch. So this is going to be a continuation of a series of videos that talk about what series I'm either completed or have completed this year. That was the first video. Today I'm going to be talking about some series that I'm in the middle of, and I also would like to talk about future plans with series and other books that I am looking forward to reading in 2022. So I'm just going to jump right in because there is so much to talk about. I'm not going to be able to talk much in depth about any of these series. I also, once again, I need to get this filmed, edited, and uploaded relatively quickly, so I'm just going to put the name and the name of the series and the author below, because that's what we can do right now. That's what we're working with. So I'm just going to jump right in and kind of start with some ones that I have plans to continue on with very, very soon. And that includes These Violent Delights series by Chloe Gong, These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends. And I read the first one last year. This is a Romeo and Juliet inspired story about rival gang families in Shanghai in the 1920s, and Romeo and Juliet need to solve kind of a sickness or figure out what's going on with the sickness that's going around. I also need to continue on with the Liveship Traders series by Robin Hobb. This is the second trilogy in the realm of the Elderling world, her universe, and this one follows pirates and sentient ships and live trader families that run these ships, and it's a ton of fun. I love this series and I need to continue on with that one. I also want to continue on with the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a fantasy romance series where our main character falls in love with her guard. I also need to continue I've read the first one in that series, by the way, and just would like to continue. And I also want to continue with the Brown Sisters series by Talia Hibbert. Again, I've read the first one and need to read the next two. This is a series of contemporary romance novels that follow a set of sisters and their romance stories, and I really had fun with the first one, so I need to continue. I also need to continue with the Prison Healer series. This is by Lynette and Noni. This is a YA fantasy series that follows our main characters, the healer, in the infirmary of a prison, and there's a sickness going around. There's also someone who has come into the infirmary sick, who has been charged by trial by ordeal, where you have a set of impossible tasks, really, and you need to surpass these tasks or survive these tasks, really, in order to be found not guilty. And our main character is taking on the sentence of this prisoner who is in her infirmary for reasons, and so she's undergoing these tasks and trying to figure out what's going on with this sickness. Anyway, I'm excited to continue. I also want to continue on with the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and this one follows a world where there are these seasons where there are a bunch of violent geologic tectonic things that happen in the earth, and there are some people with magic who can kind of help control it, but their magic is very feared. Very interesting series. I also need to continue with the Inherit the Stars series by James P. Hogan. The first one follows a skeleton that's found on the moon, but it is impossibly old, and they're trying to figure out what's going on there. I also need to continue on with the Ketty Jay series by Chris Wooding. If you like Firefly, I really feel like you would like this series. It's a found family crew of this ship, and they go all over different planets and get into a bunch of trouble, and it's super fun. I've read the first three of the Ketty Jay series. I just need to read the last one. Oh, and by the way, I also need to read, I've only read the first two of the previous two trilogies I mentioned, the Broken Earth trilogy and the Inherit the Stars series, so I've only read the first one of those, and I need to continue. There's also the Illuminae series by J. Kristoff and Aime Kaufman. Again, I've only read the first one. This is a YA sci-fi series told in multimedia format, and in the first one you follow a planet that has been attacked and some people who are trying to escape and are trying to figure out what's going on. Super interesting and interestingly told story. There's the Outworlds series by C.S. Friedman. The first one is This Alien Shore. I think the second one is This Virtual Night, and I think they're companion stories set in the same world. And the first one told the story of a woman who was trying to escape her planet, and she gets caught up in a bunch of stuff that she feels like she's getting in over her head, and she needs to figure out what's going on and why people are tracking her down, and she needs to try to keep hiding. Anyway, it was super fun. I also need to continue on, so I need to read the second one of that one, and maybe there will be more in that world, who knows. I also need to read more in the Murderbot Diaries series by Martha Wells. I've read the first 3 novellas, I believe, and need to continue on with the other couple of novellas and the full-length novel that's out. And this one follows a sexless, genderless robot who can be hired out on contract just as a security personnel, and gets caught up in a bunch of shenanigans as hired security, but really just wants to be chilling and watching soap operas, and it's hilarious. I also need to continue on in the Dune Chronicles by Frank Herbert. I've read the first one and would love to continue on with this series. I read it recently with the adaptation coming out. I also read the first novella in the Lawful Times series by Daniel Greene, and that's Breach of Peace, and I need to read the second one that just came out. This is a fantasy world, and there's a murder investigation in this fantasy world. I need to read the second book in the duology, that is the Sands of Arauia. I think it's a duology anyway, and this is by Hafsa Faisal, and you follow a huntress, and she is seeking something, and someone is trying to track her down as well. I also did read the first book in the Scholomance series by Naomi Novik, and this is Deadly Education is the first one. The Last Graduate just came out. I think it's going to be a trilogy. And I had mixed feelings on the first one, but I would be intrigued to continue. It follows a magic school where these creatures basically live not just in the school, they're kind of out in this world, but they also are at this school, and basically if you survive through graduation, then you can hopefully help survive the outside world. And it was super interesting concept. I also did not read the most recent book that came out in the Witchland series by Susan Dennard, and I really want to reread the series and kind of continue it on and read it all in one go when the last book comes out. And this follows a bunch of people with elemental magic, and there's a bunch of politics involved. It's a YA new adult fantasy series. Absolutely enjoyed that one so far. I also might continue on maybe in the Girls of Paper and Fire series by Natasha Nyan, and this follows a woman who is one of 9 concubines to this king, and falls in love with one of the other women and is trying to escape. I also have I read the first 2 in that series, and I think the third one either has come out recently or is about to come out. I also have 1 book left in the Diviners series by Libba Bray. I'll probably read that next October. And this is set in the 1920s at New York, follows a bunch of people with magic who need to solve potentially paranormal mysteries and, kind of right the balance between the living and the dead, or the worlds of the living and the dead. I also need to continue with the Invisible Library series by Genevieve Kaufman. I've read the first 5. I think there are at least 2 more out, and 1 more that's going to be released at least. This follows a woman, Irene, who is in this library, and they rescue texts from these different worlds, from different places and times. It's so much fun. There's also the Boyfriend Project series by Farah Rochon that I need to continue. I've read the first one, the second one is out. It's going to be a trilogy that is again a contemporary romance trilogy that follows the romance story of 3 different friends who meet through an interesting circumstance in the first book. There's also a second book following Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets to the Universe, just came out. And so I definitely want to read that. It's just a YA contemporary series that follows a boy kind of discovering his sexual orientation and figuring out what that means for him, and you know, his experiences. And there's also the Woven in Moonlight series. I think it's just a companion couple of novels by Isabel Ibanez, and I need to read I read the first one, Woven in Moonlight. I need to read Written in Starlight, which is the companion novel. And this is a Bolivian-inspired fantasy, and I had so much fun with this one. You follow a Contessa in disguise trying to help her princess get their kingdom back. There's also the Gamiho series by Cat Cho. Again, I think this is a series of companion... Again, I think this is a couple of companion novels. I've read the first one and need to read the second one. This follows a girl who's half Gamiho or nine-tailed fox, half human, and needs to feed on the souls of bad men in order to survive. It's fabulous, but she falls in love with a man, like someone at her school. Anyway, there's the River of Royal Blood series by Amanda Joy. I believe the second one has come out. I'm not sure if it's going to be a trilogy. And this follows some sisters who are going to need to duke it out for the throne, I think. I need to reread the first one and continue on. There's also the Beautiful series by Renee Audier, which is another YA fantasy series. I've read the first one. I think another one has been published. I think there are going to be at least 2 more. Maybe the third one has already come out. But it's going to be, I think, at least a quartet. And I just read the first one, and this is set in historic New Orleans. The vibes are absolutely perfect, and you know, things are happening, and it might be because of vampires. And I had a lot of fun with the first one. There's also the Forest of Souls series. You'll notice a lot of these are fairy roots by Lori M. Lee, and this follows kind of a magical forest and someone who needs to help control or be able to contain this forest's magic, and you know, things get complicated. The Forest of Souls series, I've read the first one. I believe the second one is out. I don't know how many are supposed to be in this series. There are also some middle grade series that I'm in the middle of, including the Pages & Co. Book Wanderer series by Anna Page that follows our main character Tilly, who can wander through books and has adventures, you know, wandering into these different books and with this society of book wanderers. There's the Train to Impossible Places series by P.G. Bell, and this follows a young girl who, you know, a train comes through her house, a magic train comes into her house one night that's supposed to deliver mail to impossible places, and she needs to help solve a mystery that's going on there. There's the Pinch of Magic Sister that follows a group of sisters. I've read the first one, and it's a group of, I think, at least a quartet, and you follow these sisters who have magic, and you follow them through various adventures. There's also the Tristan Strong series by Kwame Mbalia, and this one you follow Tristan Strong as he, you know, figures out his place in the world, and he has different magical abilities. You meet a bunch of really, really cool characters along the way. He needs to go on some adventures. So those are all of the ones. I've just read the first one. I think there are at least 3 out now. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be more than a trilogy or not, but those are all of the series I think that I have noted that I'm in the middle of. The ones that I'm caught up on include the Legendborn series by Tracy Dion, which is another YA fantasy series that's an Arthurian legend inspired, but it's set in the modern day, and you follow Bree, and she needs to become part of this society, this secret society that's based on the descendants of Arthur in order to figure out what happened to her mother and how her mother died. There's the Girl Meets Duke series by Tessa Dare. There's supposed to be the 4th one. I've read all 3 that are out now, but there's supposed to be a 4th one coming out soon. I'm so excited. This is a series of historical romances that follow a group of friends and their romances. There's also the Gilded Ones by Namita Forna. This is a YA fantasy about a young woman who needs to join a military force and is kind of ostracized from her group. And she needs to join this military force and discover some things about the world and her magic. There's the 100 Names for Magic series by Ren Shapeko that starts with Wicked As You Wish, and that's again a YA fantasy series that's a contemporary one as well. There's These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan, and I don't know how many are supposed to be. I think this is supposed to be a duology maybe, and I've read the first one, and it's a fae romance series where our main character is trying to rescue her sister who was captured by a fae court. There's the Beasts of Prey series by Ayana Gray, and I think this is, I don't know how many are supposed to be in this series, but you follow a night zoo and you follow someone who has magical abilities and manages to escape this night zoo where she and her family, you know, were kind of paying off or working off a debt. And you also follow someone who is training to become a soldier, and they both need to find a creature in this forest for different reasons. Super fun. I also have started the 6 Crimson Cranes. I think this is going to be a duology by Elizabeth Lim, and in this one you follow Shiori as her brothers are cursed and turned to cranes, and she needs to help rescue them. There's the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. I've read all 3 that are published now, and I think this is supposed to be a super long series, which I'm very excited about, but I'm caught up on that. And you follow a Morgan Crow who is kind of whisked away to this magical world and gets to attend this magical school. It's super fun and whimsical. There's the Kingkiller Chronicles, of course, by Patrick Rothfuss, and I am caught up. I've read both of them, and who knows when the 3rd one is going to come out. And we're all anxiously waiting for The Doors of Stone. And in this one you follow someone who's recounting his life story as he went to a magic school and, you know, went off on all of these different adventures. I also have read both books that are out. I think there's going to be another one coming out relatively soon, but I don't remember the release date, of the Children of Blood and Bone series by Tomi Adeyemi. I'm not sure I'm going to continue this series, but I wanted to mention it just in case. And in this one you're following, it's a YA fantasy series where like magic used to be in this world and it's kind of gone away, and our main character is trying to figure out what happened and bring magic back. And yeah, I think that's the last one. So many to talk about. Hopefully this video isn't too long, but I like, as I said, just kind of keeping stock of where I'm at. But I do like just to kind of check in with where I'm at, as I said. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have read any of these series or in the middle of any of these series, or if you have any recommendations for me based on any of these series. So again, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more bookish content and for all the videos that I'll be making in December and early January for Bookmas, and I'll be sure to leave my Twitter and Instagram link down below. That's where I'd like to hang out. I will also leave more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!